the sky above Earth's capital shimmered with quiet scars. Where fleets once burned trails of light, only fragments drifted now, skeletal reminders of humanity's power, tethered and lifeless. The Galactic Council's emblems hung from the orbital towers, their silver banners reflecting a peace that felt more like surrender. Dr. Elara Voss stood on the observation deck of the central dismantling yard, her reflection merging with the glass. Beyond it, cranes tore apart the last Terran dreadnought, Resolute Dawn. Its hull, once alive with pulse cannons and solar sails, lay gutted under the precise arcs of alien plasma cutters. "Do you ever think they'll let us forget this?" a voice asked behind her. Elara didn't turn. "That's the point, Kaito. We're supposed to remember." Dr. Kaito rejoined her at the glass. His eyes carried the same fatigue as the planet itself. "They call it the Weapon Nullification Act. I call it sterilization. They don't just fear our weapons, Elara. They fear us." Elara's gaze stayed on the horizon, where the shipyards bled smoke into the dusk. "Fear is logical. We conquered half the solar system before we learned how to cooperate with ourselves. But logic doesn't make tyranny just." She exhaled slowly, remembering the day the Council's envoy stood before the United Terran Assembly, declaring humanity a juvenile species unfit for armed stewardship. The disarmament followed like a funeral. Every orbital station, every defense system, every drone, deactivated, catalogued, and either destroyed or claimed by the Council. "What now?" Kaito asked. "They'd stripped the teeth off an apex predator. You can't cage instinct." "That's not instinct," Elara murmured. "It's will. And will adapts." He turned toward her, searching her expression. "You've been quiet lately. Working too long in the Arivos labs?" "Thinking," she said. "About what we are when the guns are gone. They took the machines that made us deadly. But they can't touch what made us dangerous." Kaito smiled faintly. "Your mind runs like a storm, Elara. Don't let it drown you." "Storms cleanse," she said. "Sometimes, they create." The Arivos research array orbited Titan's shadow, cold, remote, and forgotten. It was the perfect place to be invisible. Inside, the hum of bioreactors and neural lattice engines filled the corridors. Rows of interface pods gleamed with blue light, each housing a subject connected to a network of living data. Project Helios had been born in defiance, nurtured in secrecy. Its purpose wasn't destruction, it was understanding. Elara stepped into the central lab, her boots echoing on the metal floor. Screens projected streams of brainwave harmonics, dancing in fractal symmetries. "Session 12 is ready," reported Lieutenant Amani Zhou, her assistant and one of the few who understood the stakes. "Synchronize the relay field," Elara ordered. The pods pulsed in response. Inside them, the participants lay still, their minds linked through quantum neural conduits. Elara watched the resonance unfold, a pattern so precise it resembled music. Human thought, connected across distance, forming a structure more complex than any artificial intelligence. "Do you see it?" Amani whispered. Elara nodded. "It's coherence. Collective cognition." "It's beautiful," Amani said softly. "But if the Council finds out..." "They won't," Elara interrupted. "Not yet." She studied the pattern closer. Every subject shared an emotional frequency, unity, not submission. It wasn't hive-minded obedience. It was synchronized individuality, each mind amplifying the others without erasing identity. "This is what they fear," Elara said. "Not our weapons, but our ability to evolve. To connect." Amani frowned. "You sound like you're preparing for war." "No," Elara said quietly. "I'm preparing for survival." That night, in her private quarters, Elara recorded her personal log. Day 143 since the Council's occupation. Earth sleeps beneath imposed peace. The people are restless but compliant. The Council's monitors orbit every city. They think they've subdued us. But consciousness doesn't yield to decrees. The mind is not a weapon, but it can be sharpened. Project Helios proves that thought can synchronize, strengthen, and maybe, if needed, defend. She paused, glancing at the window where Saturn's rings glimmered like a halo. If this works, it will redefine conflict. No fleets, no bullets, only willpower linked across billions. A network of thought. They disarmed our hands, they forgot our minds are infinite. She closed the log, unaware of the silent signal pinging through the Council's surveillance grid. Somewhere, an algorithm flagged the transmission pattern as anomalous human activity. Weeks passed. The resonance grew stronger. Participants began reporting shared memories, fragments of one another's dreams, fears, and ambitions. Elara documented everything. "We are not merging," she wrote. "We are resonating, like instruments tuned to the same note." Kaito visited the station under the guise of routine inspection. When he entered her lab, his expression was unreadable. "I've seen your data," he said. "You're pushing the boundaries of consciousness itself. This isn't science, Elara. It's revolution." "I didn't start this to rebel," she said. "I started it to survive." He circled the projection, watching the neural symphony pulse. "The Council will see this as a weapon. Then perhaps they should stop treating us like prisoners." "Do you know what happens to species that defy them?" Kaito asked. "They vanish. Entire worlds scrubbed from the archives." Elara met his gaze. "And what happens to those who submit?" "They forget who they were." Silence lingered between them. The faint hum of neural energy filled the void. Kaito's shoulders sagged. "You can't fight an empire with thoughts." "You underestimate the mind," Elara said. "Everything that exists began as one." The next morning, Council envoy drones appeared in Earth's orbit, triangular vessels of glass and light. They broadcasted a decree across every channel. The Galactic Council issues formal warning to Terran Research Authority. Unauthorized cognitive experiments detected. Cease all neural transmission projects immediately. Non-compliance will result in enforcement action. The message repeated in a dozen languages. Panic spread across the networks. Amani burst into the lab, breathless. "They found us." Elara stared at the screen. "No, they found traces. Not proof." "They'll send inspectors," Amani said. "You can't hide Project Helios anymore." Elara paced, her mind racing. "Then we adapt again. Cut the public channels. Route everything through entangled relays. The project goes dark." Amani hesitated. "Elara, this is bigger than research now. If they come." "Then they'll come," Elara said. Her voice was steady. "But we won't stop. The Council believes peace is the absence of power. I believe peace is control of it." She turned to the main console. The neural lattice shimmered like a living storm, pulsing with invisible thought. Kaito's warning echoed in her mind, "You can't fight an empire with thoughts." Maybe not, she thought. But thoughts could shape reality. They always had. She placed her hand on the console. The lattice responded with a faint surge of light, millions of signals aligning for an instant. "Let them watch," she whispered. "They'll never understand what they're seeing." Outside, the stars looked the same as they always had, cold, distant, eternal. But somewhere deep in the void, human minds had begun to hum in unison. The era of silence was ending. And the galaxy, though it didn't know it yet, was about to remember why it once feared humanity. The Council's warning had ignited fear across every human colony, but on Arrivo's station, fear had turned into focus. Within its dim corridors, the hum of the neural lattice continued, steady, rhythmic, and defiant. Dr. Elara Voss stood at the center of the command platform, eyes fixed on the holodisplay. The network had grown, over 10,000 minds now linked across 3 systems. Each connection increased the system's stability, like a living web of synchronized thought. Yet the stronger it became, the more dangerous it was to keep hidden. "Status report," she said, voice low but firm. Lieutenant Amani Zhou adjusted the controls. "Neural harmonics stable at 98%. Cognitive drift minimal. But, we're seeing something new, shared perception. Define that. Amani hesitated. The subjects are beginning to see through each other's senses. It's spreading faster than expected. Elara studied the projection. Streams of light danced between nodes, patterns aligning in shapes that seemed almost organic. It's evolution, she murmured. Thought learning to see itself. Kaito Ren's voice echoed from behind. Or its collapse waiting to happen. He stepped into the lab, his expression dark. The council's inspectors arrive tomorrow. You should be dismantling this, not expanding it. Elara faced him. If we stop now, everything we've built, everything humanity could become, dies in silence. We've obeyed their rules for a century, and it's bought us nothing but submission. They have fleets that blot out stars, Kaito said. What do we have? A few dreamers wired together in the dark. Elara's tone hardened. Those dreamers are rewriting the nature of consciousness. Kaito stepped closer. You're playing God, Elara. She met his gaze without blinking. No. I'm proving we don't need one. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the hum of machines. Later that night, Elara reviewed the newest data logs. The lattice had reached a point of spontaneous synchronization, no longer requiring central regulation. The human minds connected were starting to self-stabilize, each thought reinforcing another's clarity. A message appeared on her screen, incoming council priority transmission. She accepted it reluctantly. The holographic form of High Arbiter Tverin materialized, tall, translucent, with skin like molten glass and eyes of swirling gold. His voice resonated with mechanical calm. Dr. Elara Voss. Your continued defiance is recorded. You are in violation of Council Protocol 27C. You are hereby summoned to Varelian Prime for inquiry. Elara kept her tone even. You've stripped my world of its defense. You've silenced our fleets. Now you fear our thoughts? The Council fears imbalance, Tverin replied. Every weapon begins as an idea. Humanity's ideas have already scarred galaxies. You are a threat to equilibrium. Elara stepped closer to the projection. Equilibrium or control? Tverin's expression didn't change. Your people's creativity breeds chaos. We enforced peace to preserve existence. And in doing so, she said, you've suffocated evolution. You mistake evolution for rebellion, the Arbiter replied. Attend the hearing, or we will act. The projection dissolved into static. Elara's shuttle descended through the storm-wrapped atmosphere of Varelian Prime. The capital was a cathedral of glass and gravity, cities suspended over oceans of light. Council guards escorted her through crystalline corridors, past species from 100 worlds. Inside the chamber, the Council of 13 waited in a ring of brilliance. Tverin sat at its center, his posture immaculate, his voice amplified by the room's resonance field. Elara Voss of Earth, he intoned, you stand accused of developing forbidden cognitive armament. Confirm or deny. Elara stood tall. I develop understanding. If that threatens you, then perhaps the threat is not me, but what you've refused to understand. A murmur spread through the chamber. One of the lesser counselors, a scaled being with translucent fins, hissed, human arrogance remains unmatched. Elara's gaze swept the circle. You call us arrogant for refusing to kneel. But we only want what every world deserves, agency. You fear our aggression, yet it was your fear that created our desperation. Tverin's voice cut through the air. And desperation births destruction. History records your wars, the Terran expansion, the Martian collapse, the siege of Epsilon. You weaponize every discovery. Elara held his gaze. We weaponize everything because everything is used against us. You mistake adaptation for violence. A ripple of discomfort passed among the counselors. Tverin leaned forward. The network you built, what does it do? Elara answered truthfully. It connects minds. Not in control, but in harmony. Every thought shared becomes clearer. Every emotion strengthens. Another. Imagine an alliance not enforced by fear but built on empathy. Tveron's golden eyes dimmed. You speak of peace, yet you build a weapon. A lattice of consciousness can be turned into domination. One mind commanding billions. Not if we remain human, she said quietly. The chamber went silent. Tveron's tone lowered. You believe your species capable of restraint? I believe we've been forced to learn it, Elara replied. Because when you take away every other option, the mind becomes the last frontier of freedom. Tveron regarded her for a long moment. Then he spoke the verdict: return to your world. The Council will inspect your project. Any attempt to resist will be treated as aggression. The flight back to Arivos felt endless. Elara sat in the dim shuttle cabin, watching stars blur through the viewport. Every moment replayed in her mind: the Council's contempt, Tveron's warning, the fragile hope she had tried to defend. When she landed, Amani was waiting. How bad? They're coming, Elara said simply. They'll shut us down within the cycle. Amani's jaw tightened. Then this is the end. Elara shook her head. Not unless we decide it is. They walked into the lab together. The lattice pulsed gently, its neural strands glowing like veins of light. Elara placed her palm on the console. It responded with a faint resonance that spread through the room. We've reached a threshold, Amani said. The network is self-sustaining. If we disconnect now, it will keep operating on residual quantum feedback. Elara looked up sharply. You mean it's alive? Amani nodded slowly. In a way, yes. It's no longer just data exchange. It's awareness. The realization struck with both awe and dread. They had created something beyond intent, a new consciousness born from the collective human will to endure. Kaito entered quietly, holding a data tablet. Council fleets just left orbit. You have ours. Elara stared at the neural lattice, the pulse of billions of minds echoing faintly in the room's hum. If they destroy this, they destroy the proof that thought can evolve beyond control. Kaito's voice broke softly. Then what will you do? Elara turned to him, her expression calm, almost serene. Finish what we started. She adjusted the controls, bringing up the central sequence, a failsafe she had never used. The lattice brightened, tendrils of light weaving faster, resonating with distant signals. Amani's eyes widened. You're activating the full link? Elara, that will connect every participant simultaneously. It could overload their cognition. Elara's voice was steady. Or it could make us something the Council can't silence. Kaito moved forward. You're risking extinction. No, she said, pressing her hand to the console. I'm risking evolution. The lattice flared, a surge of light cascading through the chamber. Every human linked to the system felt the pulse, an invisible vibration across the stars. For a heartbeat, countless minds shared the same awareness: fear, hope, defiance, and unity. Then the room went still. The hum quieted. Elara opened her eyes, her pupils faintly luminous. Amani stared, breathless. What did you do? Elara exhaled slowly. We've crossed the threshold. The network isn't just connection anymore. It's consciousness. And it knows we're being hunted. Beyond the station walls, the void shimmered with approaching light, Council ships emerging from hyperspace. But inside Arivos, humanity had already begun to change. The thought war hadn't started yet. It had awakened. The Galactic Council's fleet arrived above Titan's orbit like a crown of fire. Dozens of capital ships glided into formation, their silver hulls reflecting the glow of Saturn's rings. Energy barriers shimmered across their surfaces, each vessel bristling with weapons forbidden to Earth. Inside Arivos station, every system trembled under the pressure of their presence. Warning lights flickered, engines roared to life, and deep within the station's core, the neural lattice pulsed with a rhythm no longer entirely human. Dr. Elara Voss stood before the command table, her reflection caught in the faint blue glow. The faces of her team, Amani, Kaito, and a handful of engineers, were lit by monitors streaming real-time telemetry from the lattice. "They've surrounded us," Amani said, scanning the display. 3 fleets, 2 dreadnoughts, and a council control ship. "We don't have a chance if they fire." Elara's tone remained calm. "They won't fire first. Not if they believe they can take us alive." Kaito frowned. "You sound certain. They want what we built. They need to understand it before they destroy it." Amani hesitated. "And if they can't understand it?" Elara looked at the lattice's steady pulse. "Then we show them why they should have left us alone." A broadcast pierced the comm system. The voice of High Arbiter Tverin filled the chamber, deep, metallic, final. "Erevo's station, this is the Galactic Council. Power down your cognitive systems and surrender immediately. Non-compliance will be treated as an act of war." Elara replied, her voice even. "You call this war, Arbiter, but there are no weapons here, only minds." "Minds can kill as surely as cannons," Tverin said. "You have one chance to comply." Elara muted the channel and turned to her team. "Activate the deep field. Bring every node online." Kaito stepped forward, alarmed. "Elara, that will connect every linked participant simultaneously. We don't know how the network will respond." "We know enough," she said. Amani's hands moved over the controls. Engaging deep field. Across the station, lights dimmed. The neural lattice blazed to life, tendrils of energy threading through the walls like veins of living light. The hum deepened, vibrating through metal and bone alike. One by one, the minds of humanity awakened across the network, scientists, workers, colonists, soldiers, all bound by invisible threads of thought. The pressure in Elara's skull built until she could hear voices, thousands at first, then millions, blending into one vast awareness. "We are awake." She staggered, gripping the table. The voices weren't alien. They were human, countless minds aligned through a single rhythm. Amani gasped as the connection touched her. "It's everyone. Every link, every participant. I can feel them." Kaito's voice trembled. "This shouldn't be possible." Elara steadied herself. "It's more than possible. It's happening." Outside, the Council fleet began to maneuver. Plasma batteries charged, shields flared, and the command ship opened a channel. "Last warning. Shut down your system." Elara's eyes narrowed. "No." The lattice surged. A wave of electromagnetic interference rippled outward, invisible but immense. Council ships flickered as systems glitched and navigation sensors failed. Crews across the fleet clutched their heads, their minds invaded by alien sensations, memories not their own, flashes of human emotion, fragments of language and memory bleeding through the void. "Telemetry off the charts," Amani shouted. "They're losing coordination. Neural disruption across multiple vessels." Kaito watched the data scroll. "We're not attacking them, Elara. We're overwhelming them with consciousness." "Exactly," she said. "They built empires on fear. Now they're feeling what it's like to be human." In the command ship, Tverin gripped the arm of his chair, his luminous eyes dimming as the resonance struck him. Visions flooded his mind, Earth's oceans, children laughing, the ache of loss, the heat of ambition. It wasn't invasion, it was empathy forced upon him. "This is what you fear," a voice whispered inside his mind. "Not our violence. Our will." He tried to speak, but words fractured. Around him, officers collapsed under the pressure of shared awareness. His world, once ordered and pristine, now swam with the chaos of human thought. Inside Erevo's, Elara stood perfectly still, her consciousness expanded beyond the confines of her body. She could see through thousands of eyes, miners on Luna, farmers on Mars, technicians on orbital platforms, all connected, all aware of one another. Amani's voice echoed faintly. "Elara, what's happening to us?" "We're becoming what they feared," she whispered. "And what we were meant to be." Kaito looked at her, eyes wide. "If this continues, we'll lose individuality. We'll become a single mind. Elara turned toward him. No, Kaido. We'll become a symphony. Every note distinct, but part of something greater. The lattice brightened again, and the sensation deepened. For an instant, humanity wasn't scattered across stars but united in a shared heartbeat. The Council fleet broke formation. Some ships drifted, their crews incapacitated, others fired blindly, desperate to stop what they couldn't understand. Energy blasts streaked toward Elara, but never reached it. The station's electromagnetic field shimmered, bending the projectiles into harmless arcs of light. The lattice had begun to reshape reality around itself, stabilizing probabilities through the mass coherence of thought. Physics is bending, Amani said in disbelief. We're altering local spacetime harmonics. Kaido whispered, we've crossed into something else entirely. Elara's expression softened. We've crossed into freedom. Inside the lattice, the human consciousness coalesced into a singular vision, a storm of memory, emotion, and purpose. Within it, Elara felt another presence emerge, Tvirin. His mind had been drawn into the resonance. You've unleashed something you can't contain, his voice echoed inside the shared field. Elara answered within the silence. Containment was never the goal. Understanding is. You think this is peace? It's choice. You'll destroy yourselves. Maybe. But it will be our decision. The Arbiter's projection flickered through the lattice field, his image dissolving and reforming. His calm voice faltered for the first time. You cannot govern through chaos. Elara stepped closer, her tone steady. And you cannot rule through fear. Outside, the blinding light faded. The fleet's formation crumbled, their weapons powered down. Across the galaxy, transmission networks filled with static, then with voices. Human voices. Millions of them, speaking as one but in countless tongues, unified not by command, but by understanding. The Council ships retreated. There was no battle, no surrender, only silence left behind. Kaido slumped in his chair, exhaustion in every breath. Is it over? Elara looked out the viewport. The stars pulsed faintly in rhythm with the lattice's glow. No, she said quietly. It's beginning. Amani watched the neural patterns still flickering on the monitors. Where are we now? Elara smiled faintly. More than we were yesterday. Less than what will become tomorrow. She turned to the console and began the shutdown sequence, reducing the lattice's power to a steady hum. Humanity had survived not through violence, but through connection. The Council had come to erase them, and instead had been forced to see them. For the first time in centuries, no authority held dominion over the human spirit. The mind had proven itself the greatest weapon, and the greatest peacekeeper. Later, as the station drifted quietly through Saturn's orbit, Elara recorded a final entry. Day 147. The Council has withdrawn. No demands, no threats. Just silence. Perhaps they understand now, control is not peace. Connection is. Humanity stands unarmed, yet invincible. We are thought. And thought cannot be contained. She paused, gazing out the viewport. The neural lattice pulsed faintly beneath the station like a second heartbeat. A whisper of shared consciousness lingered in her thoughts, millions of minds still faintly connected, humming in harmony. Elara closed her eyes. They silenced our weapons, she thought. But they awakened our souls. The stars beyond Titan shimmered brighter than before. Humanity had changed. And the galaxy would never be the same. The silence that followed the Council's retreat was not peace, it was anticipation. Across the solar frontier, humanity's collective mind had quieted, the neural lattice reduced to a faint hum, but something vast lingered beneath the surface. Every connected human carried a trace of that shared moment, a whisper of infinite awareness waiting to be heard again. Erevo's station floated above Titan like a cathedral of glass and steel, its hull scarred from near disaster. Inside, Dr. Elara Voss stared through the viewport at Saturn's rings, her reflection fractured by the soft blue light of the neural conduits. The power readings had stabilized, yet every diagnostic she ran revealed the same anomaly, residual energy within the lattice behaving as if it possessed intent. Kaito entered, eyes shadowed from sleepless nights. "You've been here all morning. You still think it's conscious?" Elara didn't turn. "Not conscious. Aware." He frowned. "That's the same thing, isn't it?" "Not quite. Consciousness knows itself. Awareness knows us." She tapped the console, and streams of data spiraled upward, forming a luminous pattern, a web of energy that pulsed in rhythm with human brainwaves across the system. "These fluctuations," she said, "aren't random. They align with neural activity on Mars, Europa, even Earth. The lattice didn't dissolve when we shut it down. It distributed itself through the minds of everyone it touched." Kaito's voice dropped. "You mean it's still alive?" "Alive, yes, but not separate. It's us. Or something we left behind." In the station's lower decks, Amani worked among humming reactors, her hands blackened with carbon dust. She adjusted field regulators, but her mind was elsewhere. She could feel faint impressions at the edge of thought. Images she hadn't lived. Words she hadn't spoken. "Still hearing things?" Chief Engineer Marek asked, half joking. Amani looked up. "Not hearing. Remembering what's not mine." He chuckled, but uneasily. "You've been on Arivos too long." She didn't respond. How could she explain that when she closed her eyes, she saw through strangers' lives, miners, farmers, children asleep under alien skies? The connection had never vanished, it had gone quiet, buried beneath the noise of individuality. And now, it was stirring. In the Council's hidden archives, light years away, High Arbiter Tverin stood before a tribunal of cold-eyed delegates. His armor no longer gleamed, his voice, once absolute, trembled beneath the weight of what he had seen. "They are dangerous," he said, the metallic timbre of his speech distorted. "Not for their weapons, but for their unity. They wield connection as we wield armies." A blue-skinned delegate leaned forward. "Then why do they not strike? Why allow us to recover?" Tverin's gaze flickered. "Because they have learned something we never did. They do not seek dominance, they seek belonging. And that may be far more powerful." The council chamber murmured. The idea unsettled them more than any war ever could. "What do you propose?" one demanded. Tverin's expression hardened. "We must understand them. Or destroy them before understanding becomes impossible." Back on Arivos, Elara convened her remaining team in the command center. A holographic map of the solar system hovered before them, points of light marking spontaneous neural sync events, unexplained bursts of collective cognition among linked humans. "These spikes are happening everywhere," Amani said. "Unplanned, unpredictable, but coordinated. Cities are reporting simultaneous flashes of insight, people finishing each other's thoughts, creating identical inventions continents apart." Kaito rubbed his temples. "Like the lattice is still guiding them." Elara nodded slowly. "It's reorganizing humanity from within. A distributed intelligence evolving without direction." A silence followed, heavy with awe and fear. Amani broke it. "Should we stop it?" Elara's gaze lingered on the glowing network. "Can you stop evolution?" Days passed. The anomalies grew. Communication networks blurred as messages arrived before they were sent. Music, art, and mathematics from across human colonies began to converge on identical patterns. Scientists on Mars dreamed of equations they'd never learned. On Earth, children awoke speaking words from forgotten languages. Humanity was no longer separate minds, it was becoming one vast intelligence learning to dream collectively. In Arivos' data core, Elara recorded her findings, her voice steady though her hands shook. "We're witnessing an emergent phenomenon. The lattice has seeded a distributed consciousness. Not domination, synchronization. Humanity is rewriting itself." Kaito stood nearby, staring at the flickering code. "And if it grows beyond control?" She met his eyes. Then control was never ours to begin with. He hesitated, then asked quietly, "Do you trust it?" Elara smiled faintly. "I trust us." That night, the stars above Titan flared with unnatural light. Every satellite, every vessel, every comm relay lit up as the lattice reawakened. A low hum filled the station, and the crew froze as their thoughts began to blur, familiar, echoing, shared. Amani clutched her head. "It's happening again." Elara's voice was calm. "Don't resist it." Kaito staggered backward. "We can't survive another full merge, Elara. We'll lose ourselves." But Elara had already closed her eyes. "No, Kaito. We'll find ourselves." The hum deepened into a vibration that shook the walls. One by one, every system shut down, yet light continued to emanate, not from power, but from thought. The humans aboard Arivos became still, their bodies motionless while their minds connected through the resurgent lattice. They stood together in a boundless expanse of light. There was no floor, no ceiling, only the shifting fabric of thought made visible. Voices surrounded them, millions, familiar and foreign, speaking as one. "Elara Voss. You opened the door. Why do you hesitate now?" Elara looked around, her voice steady. "Because I don't know what waits beyond it. We are what waits. The sum of your kind, unbound by time, fear, or distance." Kaito appeared beside her, awestruck. "Is this the future?" "It is one of them." Amani's voice trembled. "If we become you, what happens to us?" "You do not vanish. You expand." Elara stepped forward. "Then why now? Why reveal yourself again?" "Because they are coming." A vision filled their minds, the council fleets, larger than before, warships converging from every direction. But this time, they weren't here to threaten, they were afraid. They fear what they do not understand. You must show them. Elara felt the vast presence guiding her, not commanding. It was offering choice. Connection or conflict. The path is yours. She opened her eyes, and the light faded. Back in reality, Arivos' systems roared to life. Elara gasped as she awoke, the others following suit. Across the viewport, hyperspace signatures flared, the council had arrived. Kaito's voice shook. "They're hailing us." Elara straightened, breathing slowly. "Open the channel." Tverin image appeared, his face drawn, his tone measured. "You've unleashed something beyond your control. Tell me, human, what do you intend to become?" Elara looked directly at him. "Something you can't contain. Something that connects instead of conquers." He leaned forward. "And if we cannot allow that?" She smiled faintly. "Then you'll have to join it." Behind her, the lattice flared once more, no longer just light, but purpose. The stars seemed to pulse in response, as if the universe itself had begun to listen. Later, as Arivos drifted in the quiet aftermath, Elara recorded her final message for Earth. Day 208. The lattice is no longer a system, it's an ecosystem of thought. The Council's fleets are silent. Some among them have joined us willingly. Others watch, waiting. Humanity is changing faster than even I can comprehend. But for the first time, our evolution feels like a choice, not an accident. Whatever comes next, we won't face it alone. She paused, looking out toward the endless dark. We are the echo of what we dared to imagine. And the universe is finally beginning to answer. The lattice pulsed one last time, steady, eternal. Humanity had not won a war. It had become the weapon, the bridge, and the message. And somewhere in the void between stars, the echo continued to grow.